Vega, and today I'll be discussing the impact and lasting effects of industrialization on Earth's environments. Since industrialization began in the early 1760s, its positive impacts have become vastly overglorified by textbooks and Western media. All this while its negative effects were most often brushed off to the side and for the most part ignored. One such major consequence of the rapid development of these industries is the way Earth's natural environments have struggled to keep up with the overconsumption of resources in pursuit of these self-interests. This is otherwise something known as the tragedy of the commons, something we have learned and gone over in class, and the unrelenting pursuit of materialistic wealth and overconsumption of available resources by society and these industries have caused irreversible damage and amplified issues such as pollution, loss of biodiversity, and harm to disadvantaged communities through famine, disease, and poverty. Though support continues to grow to address and combat these issues, the implications of the main issue will continue to linger long after and must not be ignored if we hope to survive as a species, as bleak as that sounds. Pollution of the Earth's atmosphere, oceans, and other environments is one such issue that regularly makes headlines for its dangerous impacts, as you've noticed. Yet, because of the nature of industrialization and the economic system it was born within, these issues are very often ignored or softly addressed by world powers. In fact, on the rare occasion a country addresses an issue such as pollution, these companies would most often relocate them and actually try and correct the issue or adhere to any regulation of its home country. After all, the nature of industry is simply to process as many raw materials as possible and manufacture as many goods as possible, which stems from the core values of our own economic system. To change this would mean a global economic overhaul. The relocation of many of these industries then fall upon the developing countries, which then unjustly receive the blame for issues like pollution. As Opoku and Bochi best state, the cost involved in the promulgation, implementation, and the monitoring of environmental policies are comparatively higher for them. The attention of developing countries is much on increasing earnings and jobs rather than pollution and health related matters relative to developed countries. Essentially, the question should not be about who we blame, though rather how we begin to address issues such as pollution. Though industrialization and its dangerous byproducts have already shown how much of a threat they are to human as a species, many people often overlook how much of a massive threat it is to all species of Earth as a whole. Many headlines have emerged in recent years about the exploitation of local ecosystems, though through means of deforestation and habitat loss, which are huge issues attributed to byproducts of industrialization of themselves. Though one of the biggest threats to biodiversity and the environment as a whole is the overconsumption of animal products produced within these factories. According to Macovina, Feely, and Ripple, the overconsumption of animal source food products by humans is one of the most powerful negative forces affecting the conservation of terrestrial ecosystems and biological diversity. Livestock production is also a leading cause of climate change, soil loss, water, and nutrient pollution, and decreases of apex predators and wild herbivores compounding pressures on ecosystems and biodiversity. Even though the article describes that it is entirely possible to greatly reduce the impacts of animal product consumption by humans on natural ecosystems while meeting nutritional needs of people, and goes on to even provide a number of solutions, the very likely outcome is that because of the nature of industrializations and the values as imposed within the human population, these solutions will be ignored to the demand economy. Due to the demand economy, industrialization was born in without taking into consideration ideas like the tragedy of the commons. Under this economic system fueled by industrialization, food isn't produced to feed people, it's produced to make a profit. When it's no longer profitable, people are left to starve and the food is often thrown away to protect profits. Scarcity is manufactured to create profitability within its system, which leads to degradation of our environments. Though many communities are being globally indirectly affected by the effects of an over-industrialized society through rapid climate change, resulting in famine and poverty. Many are often being affected through more direct face-to-face issues in their communities, such as contamination, which can lead to birth defects, disease, and even death. Communities such as Shagamu and Ota in Nigeria are two of the many victims of the unethical, unsupervised practices of many industries in developing countries. Zacchaeus et al. Write that in recent years there has been an increasing ecological and global public health concern associated with environmental contamination by heavy metals on groundwater resources, especially in developing countries. This study assessed the impacts of industrialization on the quality of groundwater in Shagami and Uta industrial areas. This study revealed that these industrialized areas contained high concentrations of heavy metal, which could cause health disorders and behavioral defects. Though this study only discusses one recorded instance of a negligence of one of these industries, it's definitely a worldwide issue seen even in the United States, not just within developing countries, further displaying the lasting effects of industrialization on Earth's communities and environments. Though this study only discusses one recorded instance of the negligence of one of these industries, it is definitely a worldwide issue seen even in the United States, not just within developing countries, further displaying the lasting effects of industrialization on Earth's communities and environments. Enough evidence has come to light to show that the over-industrialized society we see today is operating on feet of clay. It is on the verge of collapsing. The over-pursuit of self-interest within the modern over-industrialized economy has established values within society that has produced outcomes such as pollution, misplaced blame, loss of biodiversity, and harm to disadvantaged communities through famine, disease, and poverty. All of which go back to the original idea of the tragedy of the commons. It is critical that a shift is made in the near future that focuses on the health of the human species. So how is this issue being addressed? What can we do? It's important to note that at the core of this issue is how much individuals consume, which drives these industries, making methods such as monitoring carbon footprints especially useful in slowing down and addressing the problem, and even larger scale projects that focus on offsetting carbon emissions such as carbonfootprint.com, which invests in high quality international carbon reduction projects and provides additional benefits such as biodiversity, education, jobs, food security, clean drinking water, and health and well-being in developing countries. This video should give you a few things that you can do.
Pollution happens in the air, on land, and in water. Pollution is really harmful. It occurs when gases, chemicals, smoke, liquids, and solid man-made objects that do not decompose aren't disposed of correctly and can become harmful to the environment, animals, and humans. Today, there are many ways which we can limit our production of pollution. We can ride a bike or walk to school, take our own plastic bags to the shops to reuse, or recycle used glass. And pollution happens in the air, on.
Important to note that although it's very important to reduce our own carbon footprint by eating less animal products, unplugging our devices, driving less, and recycling, the truth is that many companies want to pin all the blame on us. As The Guardian states, 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions, which is a ridiculous statistic. It could be just as effective if you participate in your own environmental activism by making your voice heard, as we all play an important role in this issue, as these people to the right here are doing. And that is my presentation. Thank you for watching.